Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr Podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please leave a 5-star review. Guys, my debut stand-up comedy album, live from January 6th, is available right now for purchase on Amazon and iTunes. I believe as of right now, it is still at number one for comedy releases, for new releases, albums, also on iTunes. So it's doing great. The people have spoken. No, please check it out if you haven't already. I'm very proud of this album. It's super fun. I poke fun at the Biden administration. It's a good mix of jokes from my 10 years or so of my comedy career. So check it out live from January 6th. And I'm going to be on tour this week. I'm going on the road. Check out some of my shows. I'll be in Raleigh this week, North Carolina, on the 17th. Oh, St. Patty's Day. Join me for St. Patty's Day at Good Nights in Raleigh, North Carolina on the 17th. Then I'm heading to Savannah, Georgia to headline the Wormhole on the 19th. Then I'll be in Florida headlining Side Splitters in Tampa. That's their second location at Wellesley Chapel Theater, I believe. And that's on March 20th. Then Comedians of the Compound will be returning to Atlantic City. We're going to be at the Celebrity Theater inside the Claridge Hotel April 22nd and 23rd. Those are going to be Anthony Cumia's birthday shows. So, woo, those are going to be a banger. A quick shout out to our sponsor for this episode. Guys, we've all seen so many people making ridiculous money from crypto, but did you know that you can be one of those people? The Copy My Crypto membership site shows you the exact cryptos that YouTuber James McMahon personally holds and allows you to copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing and isn't going to punch you in your sleep. You won't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. You simply just do what he does. So let me tell you a little bit more about James. He runs the Crypto with James YouTube channel, which despite heavy censorship, we know YouTube, has over 15,000 subscribers and 1 million views. Since March of 2020, he's told his viewers to buy 26 crypto coins. Had you put $100 into each one, it would now be worth over $66K. Of the 26 coins, his top pick of the year, a coin called Phantom, is currently up around 440 times from when he started. That one call alone has retired a number of people, including a lot of guys and gals in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is all public knowledge. You can go to YouTube and verify this for yourself. If this sounds good to you and you'd like to join the 1,300 members who copy James, stop what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/Mayr. That's spelled MAYR. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but my listeners get full access for just $1. You won't find this offer anywhere else. And you have to act fast because this is a special New Year's offer that won't last long. That's copymycrypto.com/MAYR. Don't take this offer lightly. He's the real deal. Check out the site now. Yeah. I love that mood music. I'm so happy to have on the show today a good friend, a fellow comedian, an author. He is the co-host of the Who's Your Band podcast. You may have seen him in The Irishman, if you watched the full movie. A comedian. Yes, I mentioned that as well. Great guy, fun guy. So happy he's here. Jeffrey Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chrissie Mayr. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like
on the album.
it's a weird feeling. Like I still haven't listened to the whole thing yet. I feel I don't know, weird about it.
Why do you
Like
feel
it's
weird?
out there.
First of all, I love the title.
Thank you.
It's but why do you feel weird about it?
I don't know. I feel when you listen back to your sets and you're like, oh, that's the sound of my voice, isn't it?
Yes.
It's doing
Every
that, but
comedian
then
hates the way they sound.
yeah, it's doing that, and then but the part of it that I have listened to, I really love. The sound quality is stellar. The audience is great. I feel like that was a magic show where I just hit everything like pretty near perfectly. I felt very good about it. And then I kind of freaked out after the fact because I was like, oh God, most comedians do 2 recordings and then they pick and choose from each one to find the best version of each joke. But I just had the one recording, so I got very lucky that no snafus happened.
Because you're a pro.
Because I'm a pro. Jeffrey, have you done an album yet?
Not yet. I was supposed to do one right before the pandemic, and then it hit, and then I put it off on the back burner, and then been doing new stuff. So, I think somewhere in 2023, I'll probably put out something.
Okay. And also, Jeffrey's got a comedy show coming up. I think it's coming up next month in April. I'm gonna wait for it to scroll by on the screen because I've already forgotten it. It's gonna be in Staten Island on Saturday, April 9th. It's gonna be a comedy fundraiser for addicts and pit bulls. Can you explain this show?
Yeah, my wife is a veterinarian, and she works with this guy who runs a pit bull rescue, and it's called Pit Bulls and Addicts. And what he does is he rescues these pit bulls. He has this unbelievable facility that he's done all by himself, and he has recovering addicts who he also is trying to I guess fix up, who help him out, and whatever they need, he gives them, but they have to work it off, and they work it off in this rescue. Well, to run a rescue, I mean, besides like the food and the doctor bills and like the amazing things that this guy does, he could always use some money, and he does it strictly through donations.
Oh wow.
So we decided to put this show together, and it's going to be myself, Bob DeBuono, Eric Brunstein, Larry D, and we're pretty close to a sellout. So I just wanted to kind of like try and get like that last push. I mean, this show will sell out, but again,
It will sell out, guys, so don't hesitate. If you live
yeah,
in the Staten Island area, you're not gonna get a better lineup than this.
that's a fun lineup.
Yeah, all funny guys on there. That's really great. And what a wonderful cause. I feel bad for pit bulls. I feel like they get unfairly stigmatized.
They do.
Not that I don't feel bad for addicts, but
You feel
um,
bad worse for the addicts or the pit bulls?
I think I feel worse for the pit bulls because people don't like train other people to be addicts. Like that's kind of you make that decision on your own. A pit bull, like, yeah, they're kind of at the mercy of their owner and their training.
That's right. And pit bulls get a bad rep.
Yeah, yeah. Although you could be the child of addicts, and then that is kind of your training. So there's a case to be made that you could learn addict-like behaviors from your parents or whoever's around you if you had a rough childhood.
You make a good point, Chrissy. Yeah.
So you know what? I also feel bad for addicts. Um, this is great. So I'm still rubbing down the goosebumps that you were in The Irishman. I know it was like it came out a little while ago, and it was pretty much such an epic movie. And I was like bragging to people, "Oh, my friend was in that movie." Uh, what was the process like, just from like casting to shooting?
Well,
Was it similar to other projects you've done?
Well, up until that point, I had done like a couple of like smaller films. I did a bunch of commercials. I had done like a lot of like those reenactment shows, like a haunting, and some of the shows on Discovery Investigation. But this, I did like a cable TV show where I was doing stand up, and I filmed that in January and thought nothing of it, and then just went about life. I'm driving to Atlantic City to do a weekend of shows, and I get a phone call from who was it? Remember Gina Savage?
Yes, I love Gina. Yeah, she
Yes,
started in New York, then she moved to Florida, and now she's actually back in New York. I think she's actually helping with the Comedy Cellar.
that is exactly what she's doing. Right, she's one of the managers at the Cellar now. So she calls me and says, "Hey, look, Ellen Lewis has been trying to get in touch with you. They're interested in you for this Martin Scorcese film." At this point, I didn't know who Ellen Lewis was. I didn't know if there was a Martin Scorsese film. I thought it was one of my asshole friends just trying to like play a prank on me, and got
They
Gina
got
involved.
Gina involved in your punking. Yeah.
So, so I called Kevin Dombrowski. He's Kevin, right? He's a
Oh,
comedian,
yeah. Yeah, he's like
and
BFFs with Gino Bisconti.
exactly. And I go, Kevin, do me a favor. Just let me know. Is there really an Ellen Lewis, and is there really a new Scorsese film? He calls me back 10 minutes. He's like, dude, pull over. He goes, make that phone call. That's legit. So I call, And it's like, it's got to be around 6 o'clock at night. There's no one in the office anymore. And I just leave a message. Okay. The
Did you
next
wait to
day,
call them? Like the process of verifying it with Dombrowski. Like, did you wait a while or did you call him right
no, no,
away?
no. Listen, I'm not going to blow this opportunity. So I call right away, find a rest stop. I go in and make the phone call. And then I drove back home the next day. Even though I was supposed to be down in Atlantic City, I still came back the next day. And I'm thinking, if they're really interested, they're going to call me now. Like my process in the morning is I get up around 9 o'clock, I drink a cup of coffee, and I watch the Andy Griffin show. Okay. Before 10 o'clock, before I even finish my first cup of coffee, I get a phone call from Ellen Lewis's office. If they're calling you before your first cup of coffee is done, they're interested.
Wow.
And they asked me, hey, are you interested in auditioning for this new Scorsese film? So, of course, right? They send the sides to my agency, they send it over to me, and all weekend, okay, I am running these lines with whoever around me.
That was smart of you to come back right away, because I think people might not know, oh, maybe it's coming up, maybe it's later on. There's so many people that would have stayed out in Atlantic City, done the gig, but you were just like, I'm coming home right away.
I just had sometimes in your gut you feel it. So I
Yeah.
go back and I'm running lines with whoever on the show. I'm running lines. Anyone who will give me 10 minutes of time, running lines. Look, I feel good. I go in Monday to do the audition, and Ellen Lewis puts a finger in my face and goes, excellent, excellent, excellent. She goes, and the part I read for was a gangster. She goes, are you interested in a role that would be a little bit bigger and more screen time? I'm like,
gee,
yes. No. Give me something. Give me a back where I'm like the 80th guy in the background. Okay, of course I want to do it. Right?
Let me be corpse number 5. Yeah.
So she goes, here's some sides. Take 20 minutes, memorize it, come back. Now, I had a whole weekend to prepare for the initial audition. Now I got to read something else. So of course I overact. I'm blinking. I'm making these dramatic pauses. And she goes, stop. She goes, stop with the overacting. Just do it the way you just did it. I did. She goes, great. And I go, do I get the part? And she says, well, Martin has the final say in all casting.
That was bold of you to ask like that.
I kind of felt comfortable with her.
Yeah.
And what do I have to lose, right? So that's the beginning of September. All of September.
What year was this? September.
This was, this maybe was 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
Okay. So it has to be 2016 because all of September, all of October, November, it's Thanksgiving. I don't hear anything from them. And all the time I'm keeping in touch with the agency. Oh, are they passing? Do they even want me? He's like, no.
Wow. Months are going by and you're not hearing anything.
Right. And so finally I go away Thanksgiving weekend. I come back. It's Monday morning. And I type the agent. I listen, and at this point it is like November 30th. And I'm like, are they passing? I can't, this is ridiculous. I get a text 2 hours later. Call me when you get a chance. And that's when I knew they had called. They made an offer. They wanted, can I be available the month of December?
Wow.
And the month of December is coming up in a day.
It's literally tomorrow.
I mean, but the thing is, the second you commit and say yes, within 45 minutes, I must have gotten, I don't know, about 3-4 different emails. I had gotten a phone call from a production assistant. This is where you need to be. You need, I think that was on a Wednesday. By Friday, I was going in for costuming, being fitted, taking stills, a million different things. And then the next week, I was like, that was on Friday. I think the next Tuesday, I was on the set.
And this is you here. Who is this with?
Yeah, where did you find that picture? That guy was in Ray Donovan. He's been in a bunch of movies.
Is this not even related to the Irishman? I googled
it.
No,
that is the Irishman, but
okay.
That's us offset, just hanging out. You see those chairs?
Mm-hmm.
Those are called cast chairs. Deniro and Pacino, they had cast chairs, but they were bigger.
Right. I saw a whole Larry David episode a whole Curb Your Enthusiasm episode about the importance of these chairs, and they're marked off. You're not supposed to sit in somebody else's chair.
Right, and the bigger the star you are, the bigger the chair. Now, if you're like an extra or you're non-union, you don't get this chair. You get a box.
You have to sit in a box on the floor.
I'm union. I got a chair.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
see?
you sound like you've been in a lot of roles. You sound like you've like not only auditioned a lot, but like got a lot of roles.
I got called in for a lot of stuff, and I got close to a lot of stuff that could have been like a game changer for me, but it's never quite connect. Like I was up for a reoccurring role on The Deuce. I thought I had it because the cast there at HBO had always called me in for these different things, and I thought I was getting The Deuce, and they canceled The Deuce.
Ah. What were
No,
the
but
other near misses?
yeah, I don't know. Multiple movie roles, where you
Yeah.
go in, you do the audition, the executive director walks you to the elevator and tells you you're great. I'm driving to Maryland. I get a phone call from an agency. It's like, hey, they're going to pass you on the role you auditioned for, but they're interested. They'd like to know, would you like to take a smaller role in the film? Like, of course, no problem. In a couple hours, now they're going to pass me on that too.
Oh God.
What the fuck?
It's like you're a woman and you feel like everything's going great, and then he never texts you.
Right, but so when you think you have it, you don't. When it comes out of the left field, okay. So I go on the set of The Irishman, and I get to meet and work. I had to go to an audition with Pacino, which was pretty cool. I had to meet with Scorsese, and at the end of it, like I did like 10 days on the set. I filmed 5 scenes, 3 of them made it into the movie. I was just glad I didn't get cut out completely. And he had recommended me to another director, this guy Mark Raymond Wilkes, who had won or was nominated for a short in I think 2016 as well for the Oscars. He was filming his first film the following summer, referred me, and I wound up getting a part in his movie called The Saint of the Impossible.
Ooh. So what was your like how did your role change from when you got it to, as you were shooting it? Did it change at all in the process of making the film?
Yeah, well, in the scene where I get yelled at, there was supposed to be like a little back and forth between me and Pacino, who plays Jimmy Hoffa. That film, that scene, which is on for maybe a couple of minutes. Not that one. There's different. I'm there right there too,
Look
right?
at this. You're right
Yeah,
here.
there I am. We shot it. That took 2 days. Not this in the scene I'm referring to. That took 2 days, and there was back and forth. And he films different ways the scene's going to be, and then he kind of edits it in what's going to fit in with the film. Like this, I think this movie, would have worked better if it would have been a 6-hour miniseries as opposed to
Okay.
a 3-hour and 45-minute movie. Because if you read the book, really kind of explains Frank Sheeran's background a little bit more, and Jimmy Hoffa's as well.
Okay. And did you read the book like leading up to this? Did you feel like you had to?
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
what they in that scene. Look at Pacino in that scene. Yeah, they did, and they also required you to do a little background check on Jimmy Hoffa and this whole thing. And then let me tell you something: everything like that was on set was like so historically accurate. From
Really?
yeah to like in the background, like the pictures in Hoffa's office, everything was like of the period. Like there was nothing.
Wow.
I mean, very, very like realistic. I mean, we filmed the interiors in this big studio on Marcy Avenue in Brooklyn. It's inside
Mhm.
an old armory. I mean, it is the size of several city blocks. And then like you
I
walk,
know I know that location. My dad was a Teamster. He'd always have to like drive over there.
there you go, right.
Yeah.
And so like you go inside and there's like other sets in there. There's wood, there's catering. I mean, it's just tremendous. Then you walk like through like this tunnel made of blue tarps you walk onto the set. I swear to God, it feels like you are in Washington, D.C. in the 1960s in Jimmy Hoffa's
Wow.
office.
That's amazing. Yeah, I guess they can't have like a random cell phone peeking out in any shots or no
Nothing.
in
I mean,
sync
and there was
posters.
so much money that they had to film this movie that they really didn't spare any expenses. When I
What
met
was the budget?
for this, it was, I think, $175 million.
Jesus.
And you're thinking, how are they making this back on Netflix?
Yeah.
And I still get twice a year royalties.
Really? And so this came out, what, 2017?
No, this came out November of 2019. The
Okay.
pandemic happens in March 2020, and
So lucky.
everybody's home watching Netflix. So
Yeah,
the
so probably a
first
lot of people
couple
were catching up that hadn't watched it before because now people have 4 hours to watch The Irishman.
that's right there, 4 hours to do nothing.
Yeah, it's like Tiger King and then all the old movies you need to catch up on. So this is 3 years later, you're still getting checks. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the checks aren't as big as they were, but you get checks from other
They're
things.
thinking of you. Yeah.
Yeah, they're thinking of me. It's kind of like funny. What, the things you forget about it, then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you get these royalty checks, and that's always like a fun thing.
Yeah. So wow, I'm sure you were thinking like, "Ugh, so happy that the film like wrapped when it did and it wasn't screwed over by the pandemic."
Well, you didn't know that there was going to be a pandemic, and the thing is, it's like, okay, it's November. I mean, the film was like everyone was talking about it. I was getting booked left and right. I had like a tour set up from March up until June, and it's like, yeah, I had like maybe 3.5 months to kind of like enjoy a little bit of heat from it,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden everything gets taken away, and it's the great restart.
The great reset, the worst thing for comedians.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. I
so
mean,
was your whole tour canceled?
everything I was doing. I mean, rooms that I wasn't getting booked into, I was now getting booked into. Rooms that I was featuring, I was getting bumped up. I mean, like you felt like I was getting a little bit of traction. I was getting hit up to do more radio. I was getting hit up to do like more sketches and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
there you go. And all of a sudden, it's just like gone. And I gotta say, man, like during the first part of 2020, other than doing the podcast with Sean, I mean, I had like there was nothing, and you started feeling depressed. I can
Yeah.
understand how people get depressed.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember the last gig you did before the
Right before,
pandemic? Yeah.
sure. I was what I was supposed to do. I had a show that was already sold out, 175 seats sold. We had a waiting list of people who were going to come. I was kicking it off. And, I live in Staten Island. That's where we're doing the show. And I remember I think it was a Wednesday, we started, getting phone calls that people were thinking about canceling, and
Hmm.
but we were okay. And we were down to from 175, we went down to 155. It was like, no problem. We have the waiting list. We'll be good. The next day, we were down to like under 50 tickets, and they had to
Oh,
cancel. And so they canceled. And I remember calling Broadway comedy clubs. I did not want to be home and just, hey, I just need to do a spot. That was the last spot I did before the pandemic. I didn't get up until mm, June 14th, I think it was. And it was an outdoor show on the back of a pickup truck.
mhm. Was that in Queens?
No, that was in New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the last show I had. Well, I had gone to LA for the first time in March of 2020 to do my first like headlining show, and I just snuck it in. I got it because it was I think it was early. I went like maybe the first or so week of March. Got that in, and then I remember I was supposed to do a couple of podcasts. Like one was gonna be with like Tony Hinchcliffe, and he canceled, and I was like, hmm. Because again, it was like that beginning. People are starting to be weird. I remember going into a grocery store in West Hollywood, and there was this panic of like people just like buying stuff, like buying the cleaning fluids. And then I was like, I guess I also need to make a panic purchase. Like I ended up buying a huge jug of like, I think it was rubbing alcohol, and then I bought a bunch of like small Listerine bottles, and I ended up dumping out the Listerine and putting the rubbing alcohol in each of
What
these
are you gonna
little
do with the
bottles.
rubbing
What
alcohol?
was I gonna do? What was I gonna do? Douse the plane with it? What was I don't even know what I was thinking. Yeah, I was like,
You're
I
lucky
gotta
you weren't stuck, right?
I guess I gotta get these. And yeah, and then I just flew back like a day or two later. So I really maybe I lost a day or two of weirdness. And then first show coming back, yeah, same thing. I think it was around what, like May or June. I mean, they started doing the secret shows, I think, during the summer, and that was like between like Pound Ridge, New York, and Greenwich, Connecticut. A couple of our buddies from Compound Media, like the fans, were doing them. And then we did a couple of shows at this like golf club in Westchester, and those were actually really fun. Like I those shows are really memorable because it was like just people like desperate to put on some kind of a show.
I remember doing a couple of like of secret shows too, also in New Jersey. You know, you really couldn't advertise it. You know, comics like knew about it who were on the show, and they brought the audience, and it was pretty cool. But and, you know, it was just such a weird time. Like there are things about it that that were fun, and then there's something about it, like I don't ever want to go back to that. I don't want to ever go back to lockdowns. And then knowing now, okay,
Knowing now what we should have known then. Yeah.
I mean, talk about overreach and just like
Yep.
something that's completely unnecessary. I mean, I think people can walk and chew gum at the same time. And we could do that. We could be safe, but we didn't have to shut down a complete economy. My wife is a business owner. She owns a veterinary practice, something that she had worked on for almost 20 years. And then it's so crazy that within a couple of weeks, everything you worked for and building this, the biggest animal hospital on Staten Island, it could be gone because of these absolutely ridiculous mandates, and then the fear and hysteria that were in people to then try and get people to work, this labor induced business.
Yeah, right. And so much of it was BS. Like just about everyone was taken advantage of, except for like the elites, who were calling the shots, and people losing their businesses. Yeah, it's just like your livelihood, the things you like to do, and like for what? There was no reason. It wasn't based in real science or reality. And I mean, De Blasio was just horrible. And then we had all this hope. I'll never forget him dancing with his dumb wife on New Year's Eve. I think it was when we were ringing in 2021. And he's just dancing in Times Square, oblivious or looking oblivious. And there's just like it's a totally deserted Times Square around him. And I'm just like, why is this guy in charge of our city? This is horrible. He just doesn't care.
I stopped. That was the moment, Chrissy. I tweeted that. Ask anyone who follows me. I tweeted that. I can't begin to tell you how many. I have to be thousands of times. Any opportunity I had to post that picture, I did. And I stopped referring to him as Mayor de Blasio and always referred to him as a useless bag of jizz. And I don't know how I did. See, I wound up getting banned off of Lori Lightfoot's page, but I never got banned off of De Blasio. And I would sit there and I watched his press conference, his useless press conference, and I would live tweet. And one time, Gloria Pasmino used one of my questions.
Who's that?
She's a reporter for New York One who would kind of
Okay.
press him on this thing because a lot of these reporters were carrying his water. Okay.
Wow.
But if you talk to restaurant owners now, business owners in the city now, everyone will tell you to a man. Listen, Cuomo was no good either, but De Blasio was worse.
Yeah.
He was worse. And what you said about him dancing there, even though you have the right to do it because you're the mayor, it wasn't right to do it. And it was a bad optic. You're asking people to stay home, stay in, and then you and your fuck wife are going to sit there and dance in front of everybody on live TV because you can do it. This guy was a useless bag of jizz, and he used the office for his own personal gain. Okay. Do you remember what his farewell tour, the month he was leaving? you remember like the summer when he was leaving, where he would suck celebrity dick the whole time he was up there? Do you
Not
remember?
particularly. I just remember he went hard on the mandates till the bitter end.
He went hard in the mandates, but he also brought in every celebrity, took pictures with every celebrity,
Oh,
had this
boy.
asinine concert when he asked people to stay home, okay, because there was going to be a thunderstorm or that hurricane, remember? But
Oh,
still had it, and
God.
then the concert gets canceled like 20 minutes in.
Oh, God. Here, I'm seeing from the New York Post. De
He
Blasio
was
arrived late to his own goodbye party. This is, December 30th, 2021. He was 2 hours late to his own farewell party.
I
Oh,
knew
God.
people when he was inaugurated for the second time, right? After that, they do the inauguration at City Hall, and then they had I think a reception at Gracie Mansion. Okay, I knew a couple of the cops were on the detail that were taking him from one place to the other. He gets in the car, and I guess I have to say allegedly on the show, right? And he's smoking a joint, and
Wow.
they ask him, "Hey, can you put that out?" Okay. Uh, he goes, "I don't have to. I'm the mayor. I can do what I want." Words to that effect. And they said, "You have to do it
Wow.
because we can't get a contact high because we get tested."
Wow. See, that just tells me, like, I knew from that New Year's Eve shot, like, he has no regard. He is so out of touch with the people around him.
Exactly.
It's impossible for him to think of others, and that's just another really good example of it. I love this picture of the people. Hecklers are shouting, "Hope you and your wife go to jail."
Okay, let me ask you this: twice, Thrive New York City was. I love that. Is that a Scott Lebedo?
Bye-bye, shithead. Right here, this guy?
No, it was. Is that picture? Is it just a meme, or is that a Scott Lebedo
I
painting?
don't know. No, I
'Cause
think
he
this
did
is
a
an
bunch of them that were
yeah.
great.
Actually, it does say scottlebedo.com.
Okay.
He's great.
Yeah. Um, twice, Thrive New York City was funded. There's no statistics to show what they did. Look at his useless wife too.
Ugh.
What
Just
did they do?
posturing. What
I,
did they
I,
do? Didn't Shirlane, like, just take a bunch of money out of, like, money that was supposed to go into the city
well,
just
that
for
was Thrive
herself?
New York. It was supposed to be for
Thrive.
for,
Mhm.
for mental health, but she had this huge staff. She had a staff worth over $1 million, close to two
Maybe it
million
was for her mental health.
It
'Cause
was supposed to be for the mental health of New Yorkers during the
wow.
worst time, but there was never any data to support what they did, how they helped, and look at the state of mental health in New York City right now.
So sounds pretty similar to BLM, like, we never really know where the money goes.
It's true, and that's another one. That's another thing. It's a great name. It's a great name. No one is against Black lives,
How
but
could you be?
people,
Yeah.
but the organization Black Lives Matter. Explain to me why both of the founders had to step down. And by the way, they had over $4 million in homes.
Yep.
Where did that
Yeah.
money go?
Well, it improved their own lives and it affected their own generational wealth. And it sometimes it just starts with a couple of people instead of a whole group of people that are supposedly huge victims. But yeah, so De Blasio was out, and now we have Eric Adams in. Did you have hopes that he would do a much better job because he was he former NYPD?
He was a captain. He's the guy who also started 100 Black Men. I had done some fundraising shows for Curtis Sliwa.
I
Um,
love Curtis. Oh god, he should have won.
Yeah, so I supported him, but when I knew, listen, you could put a can of soup to run for mayor as long as it has a D next to its name. People are just going to vote blindly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I knew he was going to win, but I just wanted Curtis to have like a good showing, and I thought, I wish Eric Adams the best. Listen, anyone is better than De Blasio. I think this guy is. No, I think he talks a good game. I'd like to know. There are just certain things, okay, that he tries to pass himself off as that I don't think I think are quite disingenuous. Like, let me give you an example. he claims to be a vegan. He's a vegan. He's a vegan,
Hmm.
but he eats fish. Okay, he wants to be the regular guy, right? He's the regular guy. Hey, I came up from the ranks,
Yeah,
man. I'm a regular
regular
guy.
guys aren't vegan.
Right. Well, regular guys also, who come up through the ranks. Who, I know what it's like. I lived in Brooklyn. I was mayor. I was a borough president. I was a cop. Okay. Don't vacation on yachts in Monaco and are regulars at the Zero Bond Club, which is a $4,000 a year members only club. Um,
Wow.
he's a guy who, hey, I support the police. I know what it's like, but I don't trust the police. So I have to hire my brother to be the head of my security detail, which is unbelievable nepotism. Okay. And because that's the only way he's going to feel safe. You're supposed to, I grew up in New York. I know for a fact, because I know you do too, someone who lives in his building in New Jersey.
Hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
It, and right now, if you look at the job he's doing, listen, it's better than the Blasio. It absolutely is better than the Blasio, but there's still a long, long way to go, because there's not only high profile crime that it's up. No, there's a lot of petty crime that's up too. And some of these mandates are absolutely make no sense.
Yeah, it sounds like some of the mandates have been lifted in the city. Um, I haven't like ventured in to try to put my avails in yet for any of the clubs that were pushing the mandates, just because I didn't want to perform anywhere that was doing that. Have you sort of tried to put a toe in and get a sense of like, are you performing much in the city these days, or you're just gonna wait and kind of see what
No,
happens?
I've been performing in the city as far back as August of 2020. I was
Okay.
performing super shows in the city. Then I was as soon as things opened, I've been working in the city. I remember the first week, I was in the city like four of the first 7 nights that things were
Okay.
open. I mean, yeah, and I work in the city pretty regularly.
Did,
Um,
did you feel pressure to get vaccinated because of the way the clubs were kind of handling things?
No, that's not the reason why I got vaccinated. I got vaccinated because, I couldn't risk if I had gotten sick, my wife getting sick at the time. Because, if she couldn't go to work, and this is when quarantine was like 14 days,
Right.
she could not afford to do that, to be out. It
Yeah.
was hard getting help. It was hard in getting doctors. It was hard getting technicians. So I couldn't risk
Wow.
it to her. So I
That
wound
makes
up
sense.
getting it. Yeah.
Did you feel weird after?
Oh yeah. It was like like I listen, I had a vomit streak going. I hadn't thrown up in this millennium until I took,
Wow.
yeah, the second dose.
You just how much were you throwing up?
And listen, I couldn't eat. And then when I finally, but I was hungry. And then like when I finally ate something, I threw it up.
Damn.
Yeah, pretty gross.
But I bet you lost a bunch of weight. Plus side.
You know what? I would have liked to have gotten a little COVID, but like the COVID where I could lose some weight.
Okay. Did you get COVID at all?
No.
Wow.
No.
That's rare.
I didn't get COVID. I wasn't a big proponent of mask wearing. You know,
Yeah, me
I,
neither. Not
if I
about
had
it.
to wear a mask someplace, I always wore it under my nose. No, because the masks don't do anything. And if you're so worried about it, you wear the mask.
Right.
I mean, I wore it like in certain places out of respect for people. Also, I just don't need the hassle all the time. But then,
I don't respect other people, and I welcomed the hassle. I just was like, not about it.
I just want to remind everybody how safe and effective the vaccines are.
Of course.
We should always listen to the CDC and the WHO, and masks work, and so does social distancing. So just a reminder in case anybody on YouTube is not happy with the content, we support everyone getting the vaccine.
Of course.
is that God?
Yes.
Okay.
If God was a
Yes.
filing cabinet. Oh, Frank, I'm glad you're here because you were
Okay.
mentioning something before we went live about was it the Brooklyn Nets player that wasn't allowed to be on his own
Kyrie
game?
Irving.
Kyrie
Yeah.
Irving
Mhm.
wasn't allowed to play for his own team, then bought a ticket and like watched the game just from the
He
audience.
not only did he watch the game from the stands, but he actually came down to the court and was hugging his teammates. So because
Damn.
of New York City's very unusual um, workplace vaccine mandates, he cannot play for the Brooklyn Nets, but he can attend a Brooklyn Nets game since the entertainment venue's vaccine passport mandate has been lifted.
Frank, there's more to that.
Tell
Ooh.
me.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Did you also know that Kyrie cannot play for the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn or Madison Square Garden? But if you're a player from a visiting team and you're not vaccinated, you're allowed to play.
What
Yeah.
a weird loophole.
Because the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks, New York Yankees, New York Mets are all companies, corporations that are based in New York City. So none of their employees can come to work unless they're vaccinated. However, that does not apply when Kyrie Irving or other athletes are on the road. So Kyrie Irving can go and play for the Nets in Texas or Florida or anywhere else,
playing
but
tonight
when he's
in
home,
Florida.
he can't.
Yeah.
Damn.
Explain the science on that one.
It's beyond our comprehension. We're not scientists. How would we know?
The science is settled on this, guys.
This is Kevin Durant. He is sounding off on NYC Mayor Eric Adams and the mandate. Let's see what he has to say.
I don't understand it at all. I mean, there's a few people in our arena that's unvaxxed, right? Like they lifted all of that
Durant
in our arena, right?
plays for
So what's
the Nets.
I don't get it.
Oh, yeah.
The second mandate that says he can come in but can't play.
Yeah, I don't get it. It just feels like at this point now, somebody's trying to make a statement or a point to flex their authority. But you know, everybody out here looking for attention, and that's why
He's
I
being
feel
so
like
careful with his words.
the mayor wants
Well, he
right
don't
now
wanna get
some
fined.
attention, you know. But he'll figure it out soon. He better. But it just didn't make any sense. Like, there's unvaxxed people in this building already. We got a guy who can come into the building. I guess, are they fearing our safety? I don't get it. So, yeah, we're all confused. Pretty much everybody in the world is confused at this point. Early on in the season, you know, people didn't understand what was going on, but now it just looks stupid. So hopefully, Eric, you got to figure this out.
Oh, he looks right into camera. Eric, dude, you got to figure this out.
Think about this. You can go to a concert, and I've gone to concerts since, and I'm going to one tomorrow. Okay.
Oh, who are you seeing?
I'm taking my wife to see Styx. We were supposed to go see them in March of 2020, and that got postponed twice, and we're finally going tomorrow. We have like backstage passes and the whole VIP thing. That's one of her favorite bands. So that was a Christmas present from Christmas of 2019. Right?
Oh, wow.
But you can go to Madison Square Garden. You can go to Barclay, okay? Not have to wear a mask. But the guy who's on the court where there's enough social distancing, okay, he's not allowed to play in the game. You could be in the outfield of Yankee Stadium, and you're not and you're not allowed to play in the game. But you can go into the stands. You can go into the various like restaurants in the stadium and have no problem with that. Explain that science, please.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense at all.
The
It's like, did
science
they
is
just not
settled,
want to give it
guys.
up?
What is that, Frank?
The science is settled. Masking and vaccinating, it works apparently. And of course, if Kyrie Irving was on the court, he would have passed COVID as he passed the ball. So there you
Right.
go.
Because it
Now-
does tend to stick to basketballs.
Now, did you hear about this one? After the game on Sunday, Kyrie Irving went into the locker room with his teammates. Because he went into the locker room, the net organization was fined $50,000.
No way.
Yes.
Damn.
I just keep, listen, I try to keep an open mind about this stuff. And follow the science. I am willing to follow the science. Okay. Just show me the science. Just show me why it's okay to go into the arena, but you can't go into the locker room. Watch the science.
Right. If it travels, all of them through the
Also,
air.
if you look at any of these hospitals now in New York City, anywhere really, okay, but I just know like New York, they're not overrun, okay, they haven't been overrun. And also, anyone who does get it now, okay, we know how to handle it a lot better than we did in March of 2020. So it's
Yeah.
not the fatal disease, okay, that you're guaranteed to die. But I just can't take when people go, you're a murderer. You're gonna kill me. You're gonna kill grandparents. Where was the outrage when Cuomo was doing that?
Oh yeah, when he was actually killing grandparents.
Or how about that health commissioner, the transgender health commissioner in Pennsylvania that pulled her mother out of the nursing home, left the other old people in there to die, and then Biden appoints her as
Oh,
assistant health commissioner.
was it Whitmer? No, that was Michigan. This is the trans person.
The trans person who has an obese wife and an obese daughter, but you're going to tell us about
Gross.
health.
So healthy. This is Aaron Judge. Let's see what he has to say about the mandates.
Focus on just getting through the first game of spring training. So I think we'll cross that bridge whenever
They all have to be so careful.
the time
He won't
comes.
answer
But
the
right
question.
now, so many things could change. So
Who
I'm not really
knows?
too worried about
They
that
asked
right
him point blank, have you been vaccinated? And
He
he won't
did I
answer.
miss that? Hold
now.
on.
I'm still focused on just getting through the first game of spring
So
training.
this is right after they asked him if he was.
That's the
We'll cross that
answer. The
bridge whenever,
question, because I saw the whole thing of it.
the
Yeah,
time
they asked him,
comes. But right now,
are you
so
vaccinated
many
yourself?
things could
And this is
change.
the answer that he
So
gave.
I'm not really too worried about that right now.
Wow.
He did a Jen Psaki. He just completely ignored the
So
question.
I'm going to circle back to that.
But you know what? It's nobody's business what his medical history is. It's really personal and private.
It really is.
And if it has to be between him and the
Oh,
Yankees
but the
top
HIPAA laws
office,
mean nothing
that's
anymore,
fine.
Frank.
Right, but it's not. He doesn't have to share it with the media.
No,
If
he
he
has to share it with
has to share
everybody.
it with the Yankees, that's one thing. But it's private. It should be private, at least.
But doesn't it become immediately a public issue? Because just like they made Kyrie Irving, they let it be known publicly that he wasn't vaccinated.
Well, I think he was very outspoken and against it. So that wasn't. If Aaron Judge was not vaccinated, he could be, and he's maybe standing in solidarity with another teammate, possibly, or it's possible he just does not want to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
There's the two ways to go about it. It's the Kyrie Irving way and this Aaron Judge way.
Yeah. Don't ask, don't tell.
I think they're working behind the scenes to lift it. I mean, the Yankees play their home opener on April 7th. They're saying a week before April 7th is when they'll probably wind up lifting that mandate. Or this is all obviously very politically driven. And I don't know if you saw the latest poll, but the guy, the Republican candidate, I think he's out of Long Island, Zeldin, the Republican, has a point lead over Kathy Hochul right now in polls.
Ooh. Yeah, that
So-
makes sense. I know that the Republicans are doing pretty great polls as of
What's
right now.
interesting is that this is falling apart when Trevor Noah goes on the Daily Show on Comedy Central and criticizes New York's mandate laws and Eric Adams. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're right, Jeffrey. A week before it's going to be gone, which is just 2 weeks. So
He's always doing the safe take. Yeah, Republican Lee Zeldin polls show I can beat New York Governor Kathy Hochul. Long Island representing. Yeah, Strong Island. The campaign survey shows Zeldin with 45.5% of the vote to 44% for Hochul, with the rest undecided. The hypothetical matchup is within the poll's margin of error, which means the race is in a dead heat. This is a survey of 800 voters conducted by John McLaughlin and Associates. Found that crime is the number one issue, with 1 in 5 respondents citing it as their top concern. Yeah, I was literally robbed the other day at Compound Media.
And isn't it crazy how everybody, starting with who is it, Bree London in San Francisco, all of a sudden, hey, this got to stop. This got to stop. This crime is crazy. It's crazy.
Suddenly, it's so crazy.
All of a sudden, why? Because the two major issues now, COVID is not a thing. If you look at any poll right now, the two major issues in the United States is one, the economy, okay, and you throw gas in there as well, and crime. And these are two issues that have not really been addressed properly in the last year or so.
Yeah, and as McLaughlin says, public polls typically oversample the vote from New York City and undersample Republicans, so it's probably much larger. It's probably not a dead heat.
That's interesting, and that's real. That he'll be the first Republican governor if he wins since what's his name, George Pataki.
We need it.
You know what's going to be a problem is Larry Sharpe announced that he's running for governor on the Libertarian ticket, and was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago? He got the most third-party votes in New York State, I think, ever when he ran.
And where do you think
So,
he draws from, Frank?
everywhere, a little bit everywhere. I
No,
forget
but
what
do
the
you think he
numbers look
draws
like.
away from the Republican candidate or the Democrat candidate?
A little of both, but if they could get if Lee Zeldin can get Larry Sharpe to endorse him or work together somehow, I don't know if Lee Zeldin already announced who his lieutenant governor would be, but that would probably be in his best interest to get the Libertarian vote.
That's a good
But then
point.
again, Libertarians often won't vote for either Republican or Democrat out of spite if there is no Libertarian candidate.
You know, I think the last governor election in New Jersey, if you look at pollsters and the way Jersey votes traditionally, I mean, Murphy should have won in a landslide, and that race wasn't called for like 2-3 days until after election day. I mean, it was at one point. I forgot the Republican candidate's name. It's something. You remember his name, Chris?
The one who went against Governor Christie.
What was it, Jack Cintracelli or
I
something?
can't remember. Everyone loved. What the hell was his name? Something with a C.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing was,
Cardinelli or something.
yeah, it was just a guy who really had a very low profile going in, and had just built up a lot of momentum, you know, based on what was going on just like in the world at that point. You know, you saw
Jack Ciattarelli.
Jack Ciattarelli.
Ciattarelli.
Right? You saw what happened in Virginia, and it wasn't CRT that was like the issue in New Jersey. It was mandates that was the issue in New Jersey. You
Yeah.
know? So now it's like, I don't think by November gas prices are coming down. And if gas prices don't come down by November, okay, that means prices across the board are going to still be sky high. And that is going to ruin people's summers. And people don't forget that.
Right, because people are starting to make their summer plans now. Like they're thinking about spring break, they're thinking about summer. They're thinking about school schedules.
How many people? I think I saw a poll that said, I don't know if it was 60% or 75% of people are altering the way they drive now because of gas prices. And gas prices aren't getting any better. And in fact, they can go up. I was doing a show with somebody in California this afternoon, and they were saying their gas prices are approaching $7 a gallon.
Whew. There's no way. Even the most uninformed person associates Trump's presidency with cheaper gas, no new wars, and like on the negative side, he was unpresidential and mean tweets. Like other than that, like what would steer you away from choosing a Republican? Like you have nothing to lose.
I mean, if ask anyone honestly, and let me tell you something. When Biden was elected, I just wanted someone who could unify, and I was like, I'm again being willing to be completely open-minded. And it didn't take long. It didn't take a week before he reversed everything. He reversed everything, and it wasn't because it wasn't like, is it good or it's bad? As long as it was the guy before me, then it's got to be bad. You didn't even bother looking if this is a policy that works or not. Like in his speech in the State of the Union about the price of insulin. Hey, stupid! Who lowered the prices of insulin before you came into office? And how many inaccuracies and hypocritical statements have you heard out of this administration? You know, Kamala Harris, she won't get the vaccine. But as soon as, as Joe comes into office, she's more than willing to get the vaccine. You know, Biden was vaccinated under Trump.
Right.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. And it still goes back. Okay, we're following the science, so prove the science. And why has Fauci been so silent lately? What happened to him?
He disappeared. He probably went off to whatever island Matt Lauer is stationed at.
Little St. James.
Oh God, yeah. They're cleaning up the place. Yeah. Did you hear Eric Adams wants females to play soccer? To play professional soccer? Let me see.
I thought it was baseball.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought they're playing soccer already.
it is. It
Yeah,
is
they're-
baseball. Oops, I was looking at the wrong thing.
He wants them
Females
to
already play
baseball.
soccer.
All right, so play baseball. Who cares?
Like joining the MLB, right?
Okay, so you try out, and if you can hit a curveball and you can hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and you're good enough, then you should be able to play, right?
They won't get above low A baseball. There's no
Yeah.
way.
Well, you're right. You're
But
right.
they could
I mean,
try. It's great.
You should have the opportunity to try. I have no problem with that.
Can the women use steroids?
I think some do.
I think if they do try play baseball, I think Jeffrey, Paul, and I should go play women's softball.
Yeah, you'd crush it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the way some of these women pitch? They're great.
Remember that woman that was like, Black Lives Matter, my pussy matters? She had a sick underhand. Remember that video, Jeffrey Paul?
Yes, I remember she was unbelievably hot.
I
Yeah.
couldn't stand by and watch her disgrace all those candles.
Yeah, I can't believe like no one wanted to really fuck her. I can't believe that she was really going on a limb there to like put her pussy off limits.
Look, we all have our breaking points. Okay. Dang. So I give you credit for you've been still performing in the city and hustling this whole time. I think there are so many comics who quietly slipped out of the scene, just quietly quit, packed up, moved back to their home state, or the ones that it just gave them the perfect excuse to quit if they were already half-assing it.
Social Darwinism.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And like those that's are sticking around and doing it, those are the ones that deserve to do it and are only going to get better.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, is there any comic that you've noticed that maybe you're disappointed that they fell off completely during it? Like anybody notable that you're like, oh wow, they haven't come back that used to perform within the city?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the person who's disappointed me the most during this is probably Howard Stern. I can't believe. I mean, I used to love this guy growing up, and I can't believe what a sniveling, pandering cuck he's turned into being. Okay, as far as comics I've worked with, I mean, the people I see have only been better and greater. I mean, I'm working nightly with guys like Al Lubell and just like all these great comics. People are out. People have had enough of it. I haven't seen anyone who kind of like just fell off the earth because of this.
Because probably you're also like you surround yourself with like other grinding comics, like people that are working hard. I think I just know so many, and honestly, mostly girls who were like
Who stopped doing it?
Who were like really just in comedy, I think, to like casually hook up with dudes and then like post pictures of their cleavage and then like complain about how hard it is to be a woman in comedy. I was seeing
or use it as therapy, right?
Yeah. or every 4 to 6 months be like, oh, I'm in a crisis, I need money.
I think people like
I know who you're talking about. I'm not saying the name.
We both sent her money.
There are comics who I think just like being around the scene. I think there are some comics that kind of just like, I think we call them comics that dabble in doing this. A lot of these female comics do that. I mean, are there female listeners on the show? Because they're probably going to hate me now. Okay.
I would say this is like 96% listened to by males.
Okay. I mean, but it's true. Like a lot of like the female comics that I know, kind of like they dabble in. They'll do it, and then like something will come up, and then they won't do shows for 3-4 months. There are a couple of comics that I know that I haven't seen since. They got other interests, or something else came up. But like I said, the longest stretch I went from March 14th as my last show, and then June 14th on the back of a pickup truck. And then every weekend after that, I was working. And then starting in August, I was in the city probably close to 6 days a week.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Hustling. Matthew Hammond asks, is baseball worth watching anymore after the owners ruined it? The DH in the NL is an abomination. What's the DH?
Designated hitter.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Oh.
just came to an agreement with the new collective bargaining agreement. I didn't see the details of it. I haven't looked too much into it, but the only thing I do know that they changed was that there's no longer going to be an infield shift.
That's a good rule. No one, unfortunately, I think they may be bringing back is the ghost runner.
Oh God, that's funny.
Yeah, but they're going to go back to 9-inning doubleheaders.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a problem with the DH in the NL. It was coming. The NL was the only baseball league to still have a pitcher hit.
Interesting.
In college, in the minor leagues, there's a DH in the American League. So it's only Major League Baseball still had the pitcher hitting.
Okay. As you can tell, I know nothing about baseball. Matthew Hammond again. Are we going to see news reports of how you can have a great vacation while staying at home? Yeah, definitely. They're going to try to make that cool again. Staying home on a budget. Buy a sprinkler. Run through it until your water bill goes out.
But this is the interesting thing. Okay, so I'm just arguing with someone in California about this. Hey man, we should have only electric cars. Okay, how does the power grid run again? Yeah, any oil involved in that? No.
Yeah.
Nothing.
The science is out. The science is settled. Electric vehicles are the future for our economy.
And
Also, please get boosted.
And please get boosted. Please eat insects and Boca burgers. And all of
Boca
the above.
burgers are fucking disgusting, by the way.
Yeah. They're like coasters.
What is that? What is a
It's like a veggie patty. Basically, it's like a hard, it's like grain and
It's like a hockey puck.
and soy protein, if that.
No, you lost me at veggie burger.
Yeah, no thanks. Just hearing Eric Adams talk about his plant-based diet. He's got to get everybody in New York City on a plant-based diet. I'm like, I don't know why this is making me crave meat even more. Like, don't tell people what to eat when there's people period. I don't think you should ever tell people what to eat. Everyone's an adult. But especially not when the crime is so high and there's people like shooting up everywhere in the city.
New York mayors have been doing that since Bloomberg with the soft
soda.
drink. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
true.
if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. That's I think what this whole thing really came down to is give people information, be transparent with that information. If you make a mistake, say there's a mistake, but be honest, and then let people make decisions. And I really think if that would have been done, I think more people probably would have gotten the vaccine. But when you tell people that you have to do this, that you have to eat vegan, you can't drink soda. Now it's like when you have a kid and you go to the hospital and they tell you, whatever you do, don't shake the baby. You don't shake the baby. All I want to do is
Now
shake
I want
the baby.
to.
Exactly.
I think it goes further than that to the New York City smoking ban in 2003, though.
That's
like
true.
I don't smoke. I think cigarette smoke is disgusting, but that set a precedence, I think, to overreach for lower and smaller establishments throughout the city.
Yeah.
Agreed. The other thing that really we forgot to talk about with the Blasio. I don't know if you've been in the city, but how disgusting some of these like shacks look.
You mean the outdoor eating areas that they've built?
Listen, at this point, there is no need for it.
They're basically like rain homes for homeless people. They're basically like just a shed, like a 3-walled shed in a place for homeless people to basically like pile up their shit.
So I when I'm in the city, I park my car usually like a few blocks away. It's usually on days like that I don't get a chance to go to the gym, or if I have a busy day. So I like to walk, and you pass millions of these shacks, and I have seen there's homeless people use it as shelters.
To piss in, to shit in. Yeah.
I see people pissing every night when I'm in the city, but I've also seen homeless people fucking in there. It's nasty.
Hotels are expensive, actually. You know, to
They
their
are. That is a good point. So I guess that is a public service that the city is providing.
yeah, but the restaurants definitely aren't using them. I was even seeing that like last summer. They really were not getting used.
Well, with the cost of restaurants now, do you really want to sit outside and be breathing in air brake asbestos from an idling truck? Is that what you want?
Yeah, you don't want to be eating your hamburger and then be like, "Oh, there's a dick on my shoulder." Great. I
Well,
love New York City.
This is my favorite thing. Like I'm watching this couple sitting there, group of people sitting outside, and like you just see like these guys randomly walking by. I have some. It's like who I don't
Is that a
need
question or a statement?
it's both. I have some. Yeah, bicycle guys whizzing by. Listen, if I'm going to a steakhouse, if I'm going someplace out to eat in the city, I'm going in the restaurant. I'm getting the full experience. I'm not sitting in a shed. All right.
Right.
I'm not doing that. Also, I don't know if you've been down McDougal Street, okay, where some of the clubs are, but the shacks protruded out so much
They
that
fuck up the flow of traffic.
right, and certain sanitation trucks couldn't pass by to pick up garbage. So what they asked some of the vendors to do was bring it to the end of the block. Well, that's against the law. You can't do that. So they had, and it's private carting. So what they had to do was, replace those vendors. So that was another business that lost money and hire guys with pickup trucks to pick up the garbage.
Oh, wow.
Because they can physically get down the street.
Chrissy, didn't you have an experience about a year ago, right outside Compound Media, where a homeless person was harassing one of your girlfriends?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was dumb on her part because she was doing a live stream like right outside the studio. I think this was, she's that small girl who lives in Miami, Brittany Brave.
Brave, yeah.
Yeah. So I see this guy kind of like stalking her, this like homeless guy cracking, like whatever, just like not a great vibe. And she's like live streaming. She's on her phone, just maybe like 5 or 10 feet away from the studio door to get in. She's outside on the street, and I see this guy just basically like circling her like a shark, and he's trying to ask her money while she's clearly like on the phone. Even if he doesn't know what live streaming is, like you can see the girl's on the phone. And I said, "Hey, buddy, if I give you $20, will you fuck off and stop bothering her?" And he said, "Yeah, thanks." And then she finished, and then we all went to eat at a restaurant. Like again, it was like on the street eating, near the studio. We're outside eating, not too far away. We're eating, and then this was maybe like a half hour later, same fucking dude comes up to our table, walks up to our table and asks us for money. I was like, "Are you kidding?" I was like, "I just gave you $20. Get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with you?" And then I'm like upset that he didn't recognize me personally. I'm like taking it personally. I'm like, "How do you? Come on. How many people are just out here giving you $20? I'm so mad. And I was like, "I'm done giving money to people on the street. I'm done."
Yeah, I'll give money to people on the street, but they got to provide a service. Like if I'm going,
Hey.
that service could be anything your imagination. But no, usually if if they're holding open the door for you, just that,
Right.
I'll throw $1 in their cup.
Right.
Just like and I'll do that. But the thing is, if you're going in and out of, you could wind up spending close to like $10 on it. And I guess I don't really mind it that much because, are they really winning? You kind of feel bad for them.
Yeah, I guess. I guess it was just because it was so much money, and like the guy did not. He just came right back, and he didn't. I think I'm more upset about not being recognized. Is what this all really comes down to.
That's what. Oh, I knew it would come down to that.
Monty, Granito, thanks for the 20. My wife and I just went back to Hell's Kitchen this past weekend. We lived there for 4 years. It is unrecognizable. We felt like Marty McFly in Back to the Future too. 4 years ago, it was full of families. Not anymore.
Oh, he's right about that because if you go on the west side, that's where it really, where the garbage piled up. It is really dirty, and with all the shack, the east side still looks the same. Okay, but that's where all like the bigger money is.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Monty's right.
And the rents really did not go down as much as they should have,
No,
when
but
people were
there's tons of
really scramming out of the
vacancies.
city.
Yeah, but there's tons of vacancies still, with these buildings. And the thing is that when people say, "Hey, New York will come back," well, it'll come back to some degree, but I don't think it's going to come back to pre-pandemic times. And I think the reason for that is I think working at home and Zoom has really changed. Well, Zoom like things kind of changed things. Like if you look at like a company like say NYU Langone, okay, and they had rented like 11 floors on the east side. Well, now they don't need to rent 11 floors on the east side. Now they rent 3. If you look
Yeah.
at other companies, everyone's kind of like downsizing. They're still keeping businesses in Manhattan, but not to the degree that they did before, and are encouraging people to stay home. Like I think we're headed towards the 4-day work week. Maybe where you're working a little bit longer, or you're working 4 days at home, 1 day. Maybe 1 day you're going in, or some type of degree of something like that. But I don't think we're ever going to get back to that. Also, if New York or any of these big cities, Boston, Chicago, especially Los Angeles, if they don't address this crime problem or even the perception of that crime problem, you're not going to see the tourists flock in here anymore.
Yeah, I see some tourists in New York City. Like I'm just in like once a week now. But yeah, it's like I get out of the train in New York City and I look around and it's all like European tourists and gay dudes. That's who makes up New York City right now. Just Europeans and gays as far as the eye can see.
I think when you're in the city, I mean, maybe Monty, picked this up when he was here. The city is younger, dumber, and it smells like weed.
It really does. And that's, people are so shocked, like, oh, nobody wants to work. Weed definitely doesn't help any of that.
No, but it also kind of discourages it from bringing families here.
Oh, for sure. And like, yeah, until they get the crime under control, you're not going to see the tourism and you're not going to see why would any family choose to stay in New York City?
And like Frank has a kid, right? Let me tell you something. You feel comfortable sending your son, your daughter, young kid on the train?
Oh God.
No, we actually have not gone into the city ever since COVID because of everything and because of that and the crime.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't
especially
think
the subway is sus. Like I don't know if I would bring a kid on the subway. I'd be really watching them like a hawk, I think.
or how about your young girl, young woman, and you work, remember the day, like you would like maybe work during the day. You go, maybe, if you're a comedian, you could do some sets or if you're just like a worker and like, you work in an office and you hang out with your friends a little bit after dinner. And now it's
happy
around
hour.
10
Yeah.
o'clock and you have to take the train from, say, Manhattan to Coney Island. And you're on the train for 45 minutes.
It would be
I mean,
packed.
right. But I mean, now it's not as packed. Do you still
Yeah.
feel as comfortable taking that train?
Right.
That's
You
the
kind
thing
of
that they
like
have.
you took comfort in the fact that you were surrounded by other working people. Now it's kind of like it's you and a guy who's eyeing up your shoulder, wanting to put his dick on it. You know what I mean? Like the people that are on the
You
trains, like
like your
kind of
dick
live
on the
there.
shoulder, don't you?
Yeah.
Is this like a fetish that I'm like not in tune
No,
with?
it's just you see what you see, living life out there in the big city. People taking shits into the train. God, I
This is
saw this video. There was a guy laying down on the subway train, like in the seat, but like he just tipped himself and he just started pissing like off the seat, like onto the floor of the train. It was like creative, but I'm like, wow, they just don't care at all.
no one can. And God forbid, like you to intervene with somebody. Like how many of these videos have you seen where what was that the video at the stabbing at the museum? Did you see that?
Which one? Wait, which museum?
The museum in the city. Was it the
Oh yeah, yeah. So
okay.
we can put something up.
Yeah, see if you can pull that up because if you watch the video, the security guy literally does nothing. I think he throws a notebook at the guy. I mean, doesn't do anything. Or how about when the Asian woman got pushed down, and it was a pretty big guy who was a security guy. He just basically just like turned. He looked. Oh yeah, okay. The woman got like knocked out. Okay, that's cool. I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
back.
this story developed way more than I remember. He was Chris, I sent you the link. He was nabbed in Philly after setting fire to his motel room. This is after stabbing, I think,
Yeah.
2 people at the MOMA.
Wow. See, this is why I don't go to museums anymore. MOMA stabbing stabbed in Philly after setting fire to motel room. I'm public enemy number 1, they say. The crazed patron, cops say, stabbed 2 workers at the MOMA, caught in an on-camera attack. That's a place you don't expect mentally ill people at our museums.
No, but you know what the tie-in here is okay. This is a guy who has been prosecuted in Philadelphia. Okay, Philadelphia is one of the cities that has one of these Soros-funded DAs that refuses to prosecute, and guys like this keep going out and committing crime after crime.
Kind of looks like my dad.
I think the most important thing here is this picture of him, honestly. Well, if your hairline is that far back, you should not be greasing your hair even further back.
He just wants to make sure it doesn't flip in the wind.
Does this
He's
guy
like,
have the same
he's like,
hairline as me?
I'm not doing a comb over. I'm doing a
No,
a
I was just
comeback.
looking at that. His is easily 1.5 inches further than yours.
Okay, because I got a little nervous that he's got glasses, I got glasses.
No,
Your hair,
you're doing great.
Your hair is up though and fluffed. His is for some reason
Yes, I have-
slicked further
Yes,
back.
I have grandmother hair.
Wow. Yeah, let's see. He said, best cops in the United States right here, buddy. Cabana said, wearing a black surgical mask, boots, jeans, and a dark colored hoodie under a flannel shirt. Videos tweeted by Philadelphia Fox news reporter Steve Keeley shows they just made the United States safe. I'm public enemy number 1. All right, so some sarcasm coming from Gary Cabana. The arson sparked a manhunt, and cops found Cabana sleeping on a bench inside of the Philly Greyhound station. Sometimes those trains don't come right away. They realized he was also wanted for the Manhattan MoMA stabbings. Wow.
You got to wonder what else he's done,
Yeah.
honestly, that he just hasn't been caught or identified as doing.
Asked by a
Well,
reporter
they're not
after his
reporting.
arrest why he stabbed the MoMA workers, Cabana shot back, man, read my Instagram. Why do they ask these questions? Read the fucking Instagram. He said, praying for all the haters who believe the MoMA media lies, Cabana commented in one of his posts. Part of a back and forth with commenters taunting him and telling him to turn himself in. What? Imagine he just has an ex-girlfriend who works at the museum.
Oh, play the video.
Yeah, we got
Let's
to
see
This one here.
They just made the United States safe. I'm public enemy number 1.
At least he's wearing 2 masks.
I would have made those cuffs so tight.
His face looks wet.
Those are called tears.
Oh,
But he also got a band-aid over his eye.
wow. There's a lot to unpack here.
And looking at that video, Jeff, his hair is similar to yours even more.
Yeah.
Look at that. Jesus. Go back up, Chrissy. Jeff, I
Hey,
think
maybe
we
if
got
they
a
do like a,
Come on,
Hispanic
you're not.
cousin
You're
in
not.
Philly.
You could maybe play him in a movie.
that's what I was just thinking.
Scorsese is
Yeah.
going to do
Ray
this film.
Cabana.
Man, you just arrested public enemy number 1.
Oh, Jeffrey, I forgot to ask you this before. How is it working closely with Deniro having such different politics than him? Did that make you
What-
feel a way?
De Niro was a different type of guy. He was cool, but he wasn't like outgoing. Like Pacino was great. Pacino, I was able to bust his chops. We did a rehearsal, right? And we ran this scene a couple times. And I go, Al, when we do it live, is that the way you're doing it? And he's like, that's the way I do it. I go, so you're happy doing it that way? And he goes, look, I've been doing it for 50 years. How long have you been doing it? I go, about 25 minutes. He goes, exactly, right? So he was kind of like a guy to play with. De Niro wasn't, and you weren't going to say anything unless he said something first. So there was a time where me and him were just standing right next to each other, and I didn't say anything, and he didn't say anything. So it's this. Now that's uncomfortable for 4 seconds. Okay, picture that for 10 minutes.
Did someone not know what their line was?
No, we were just waiting for them to change the lens.
Oh,
So we
wow.
were just
Okay, so you
standing there.
didn't feel like you could do small talk with him.
I wasn't going to say anything until he says he's the star and executive producer of the movie. What am
So
I
you
going
didn't
to
wanna
say?
annoy him.
Hey, Bob, don't whack me. You know, what am I going to do? What am I going to say to him? You know, but
Be like,
this
hey,
is
Bob, so you like black girls, huh? What's that like? I don't know.
But
Yeah,
this
no
is
small
why
talk.
he wasn't a dick, because
Mhm.
one day he came late. We had to be on, I would usually get there about 7:30 for hair and makeup. They would, you'd have to be on set by 9:00. And one day he doesn't show up until almost 11. He apologized to everybody, including myself. So he was a
Wow.
considerate guy. But like when we would wait, they would sometimes have to take down a wall so they can get a better camera angle. Okay, when they're doing, they would shot these scenes like 100 times.
Wow.
Al wouldn't want it to be quiet on set. He liked hanging out with the guys, and it was kind of fun. Deniro would then walk away and sit on his cast chair and maybe read a book.
Hmm.
I think he's a more just cerebral guy.
Okay. God, I don't think I would want to like check out like that. For me, I'd be like, oh, should I be rereading lines, like doing something else to prepare? Or like at that point, you just know it so well.
You've run these things as many times and so many different ways, and they got to
Wow.
get every point of view.
Did you ever have a moment where you forgot a line or you like fucked up or you felt
No,
embarrassed
no,
or
never. I no, never once. It's so funny. I get more nervous sometimes if I would go to an open mic
hmm.
than I was working on this on any set I've ever been on.
Wow. Why is that? Because you just know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's also that if you do mess up, and we can do it again. I think that, like, especially if you do an open mic in front of comics, you feel like there's more judgy,
Or immediately judged. Hmm.
and it's judging against of your peers, regardless of who they are.
Yeah.
Jeff, did you get a chance to work with Dominic Lombardozzi?
No, was he? Oh, no.
Oh yeah.
This is who I saw on. I worked with Deniro and Pacino, and I saw and would talk to what's his name, Ray Romano. He came in because he'd be filming interiors in another part of the studio, like a little later on in the day. There was also another guy. He played Big Tony.
Yeah.
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 Incredible transformation with the makeup.
Yeah, there was a that's Little Steven in that last picture. Do you see it? Go back. Yeah, it's Little Steven Van Zandt.
This guy?
Next one. No, next one. With the singer. There you go. That's Little Steven from The Sopranos and the East
This
Street
one?
Band. Yeah, the guy in the white jacket.
Oh, this guy. I
Yeah.
didn't watch The Sopranos.
Do you know
We didn't
who?
have
Do you know
HBO.
who? Steve Van Zandt is from Springsteen.
Uh,
That's right. I had you on my show. You picked up the weirdest band.
I did. But yeah, Dominic Lombardozzi was unrecognizable. Just fat and gross looking. It was great.
He was great.
I had him on the show to talk about The Irishman. I don't think he liked me, but I had fun talking to him.
Why didn't he like you?
I don't know.
It was a weird energy.
He was
Anybody
not humored
who's
by me in the least.
Anybody in the chat right now or watching or listening to this, go back and check out Chrissy's interview with Dominic. And there's just like a weird.
I just was like, I found myself being like, okay, what's next?
This guy was great. Stephen Graham was great in it.
This guy?
Yeah. So
he was great. I remember.
You know what I found out later on? The reason why it took so long to film the scenes that I was in, and why it took so long to get cast, was they were saying Pesci didn't really want to do the film. He had already been in retirement, and he really did it as a favor to De Niro. and so they uploaded his scenes. You know, they filmed all his scenes up front, and then they filmed the scenes that he wasn't in.
Wow. So he wanted to do as little time as possible.
Right. And listen, he was incredible in it. I think it was his best role ever.
Yeah, it was an awesome movie. I actually really want to rewatch it now. Jeffrey, this was so great. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was great to talk comedy with you and your experience on The Irishman. What is coming up? Where can people follow you?
Well, they can follow me on the socials. I'm, on Twitter, Jeffrey Paul 17, on Instagram. What am I? Jeffrey Paul 2363. I don't know why I picked that. I just did. If people,
Yeah, why are they different numbers, dude?
You got to get them all the same.
Got to be the same.
I don't know how to do social media. I am not good at this.
You can switch them all. Just like have it all be like real Jeffrey Paul or the Jeffrey Paul or Jeffrey Paul comedy.
Jeffrey Paul Irishman.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But speaking of Irishman, I'm doing an Irish Day, or I guess a post-Irish Day comedy show with Rick Younger. This Friday night, I'm up at the Silverback Distillery in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then I think next week I'll be in Connecticut somewhere. And okay, where am I going to be? Yeah, I'll be in Stamford, Connecticut, the Stamford, Connecticut Comedy Club. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. And then
I'll
just
be there with Abby Crutchfield.
ooh. And yeah, just follow Jeffrey's socials for updates on where he'll be performing. And then of course check out the fundraiser on April 9th in Staten Island. If you want to support pit bulls and addicts, why wouldn't you?
That's right.
Yeah. Jeffrey, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much to the chat for your comments and questions. Until next time, bye.